Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where you'll hear ridiculous stories about people who truly think they can do no wrong and will always get what they want. My friends, before we dive into the stories today, I gotta get you warmed up, so take a look at this. So this person right here leaves a 1-star review on a business that says, "My wife and I contacted this company for emergency repair of our refrigerator, which stopped cooling and freezing. We had $300 worth of food at stake. When we called, we just got an answering device which I explained I needed immediate repair and left our number to please call us back. And no one ever did. As far as this company having 24-hour emergency repair, it doesn't. 1 star. So what's funny about this is the owner responds and says, "Hello person. All of our operations are shut down due to Hurricane Dorian. Our service area is completely covered by evacuation orders and hurricane warnings. I'm sorry for your loss of food. However, understand that the safety of my team and their families comes first during these times. As soon as it's deemed safe to continue operations, we will. To leave a business a 1-star review because you did not get a response while a Category 5 storm is hitting our area is incredible." Oh my goodness. How dare this company not risk their employees' safety and well-being for $300 worth of food? And this person shares, "My coworker had a baby girl last week, and to celebrate, he took us all out to lunch. My other coworker ordered an extra steak and 2 slices of cheesecake to take out. When some of us asked her why, she said it was because it was free. She even knew my coworker was paying." My friends, this is totally taking advantage of someone's kindness. If anything, they should have been paying for the person who just had the baby. Guys, OP's coworker was way too nice. If that had been me, I definitely would have gotten her to pay for that extra steak and 2 slices, not 1, 2 slices of cheesecake. Oh my goodness. One more, guys. Okay, you got it. This person shares, "You know he's broke when he buys you water." And this person responds, "You know you're broke when you depend on someone else to pay for your meal." Oh my goodness. My friends, if you think those people are entitled, wait until you hear today's lineup. The first story is a hilarious story about a family forcing OP to fake his accent. The second story, an entitled guy throws a tantrum at airline staff when he doesn't get his way, and we'll finish off with an entitled neighbor who gets what he deserves because he's a thief. My friends, I do hope you stay for the stories today and hit that subscribe button for future stories. Let's dive in, my friends. So, I don't know if this is really the right place to post this because the parent was more insane and moronic than entitled. So back when I was 20, me and my friends went on a summer-long working holiday to the US. Important for the story is that we are all Irish. We all got jobs, etc., and spent the majority of our time drinking, partying, getting high, and trying to get with girls. So there was this one girl I worked with who was as American as apple pie, but claimed to be Irish because she has Irish heritage. Now, I know a lot of Irish people dislike it, but I just find it funny and endearing that people are proud enough of Ireland to claim it as their nationality when they've never been there. Anyway, me and this girl got along very well, platonically, and we hung out a bit after work. She invited me back to her family home for dinner, and I, being poor and hungry, of course said yes. She drove me, and my God, when we got to the house, there were Irish things everywhere. There was a giant Irish flag billowing in the air, giant plastic shamrocks all over the garden, and fighting leprechaun figurines and statues in the garden. Now, I thought this was all hilarious, and didn't say anything. Then I went in and said hi to her mom, who was nice, and to her dad, who was not. The first thing he said to me was, "Cut out that accent, kid. It's offensive to us Irish folk." I was absolutely just speaking in my normal Irish voice. I was baffled, but I assumed he thought I was American pretending to be Irish. I tried to clear it up by saying, "Sorry, I'm Irish. I'm not doing an accent." He then said, "Cut the BS. We are Irish, and we don't talk like that." He was getting really angry at me, and I was really just trying to de-escalate the situation and said, "No, I mean, I'm from Ireland. I'm here on holiday." He then asked me, "Where in Ireland do your kin hail from?" Now, it was really weird phrasing that no one in Ireland or anywhere would say, and I said, "I'm literally from Cork in Ireland. I've lived there all my life. I'm not putting on an accent. This is how I talk." He said, "Cork? Never heard of it. My kin are from Cashel." I want to note that he pronounced it like it was Klingon or something. He pronounced it Cashel, which is not how it's pronounced. I said, "Oh, cool. I have been to Cashel. It's really nice there. It's only an hour away from Cork driving. Have you been?" He replied, "Not yet, but we will go someday. Now, if you want to stay for dinner, you can't talk like that. It's rude to us Irish people." So I kid you not. For the next hour and a half, I spoke in a fake American accent. There was no great revenge or anything, and he was actually kind of friendly-ish after that. But I did take great satisfaction out of asking him anything about Ireland and listening to the absolute nonsense he spoke. He pronounced almost every place wrong, thought pagans were still a thing, and I'm pretty sure he did not know that we were a modern country at all. Oh my goodness gracious, what a champ OP is. I'm still laughing at the fact that he faked an American accent just so the dad would not get upset at him. This person right here comments, "How did you manage to stay inside your skin?" I'm an American, and had I witnessed that, I would have crawled right out and left a bag of skin laying on their living room floor. It's the most cringy thing I've ever heard. And this person responds, "I'm guessing it's the food. I would have done the same." How many of you would have faked an accent for a free meal? Be honest. Guys, I'm still laughing at that. What a gem OP is. To start, I'm a 33-year-old female and I work for a major airline in reservations. I also want to make clear that I will not debate or discuss my company's policies other than perhaps stating, "This is our policy." I have nothing to do with creating policies or procedures. This particular story occurred about 3 years ago. One evening around 11 p.m., I received a call from a young gentleman. He says that we changed his reservation without consent and without notifying him, and we're ruining his life. I immediately follow the standard customer service protocol and apologize before actually knowing what's happening. I asked him to hold on one moment so I could review his reservation so I could better assist him. First, I noticed that the reservation was made the same day, within the last few hours, so this couldn't be a schedule change. I also looked through the history of his reservation to find that he had booked a flight with 2 connections. It was ultimately from somewhere in California to Seattle. One connection from a small to a larger city in California, then Phoenix, and finally Seattle. That was what he had booked himself. His reservation was now showing that he was on an itinerary with only one stop, so he wouldn't be going through Phoenix anymore and would be arriving earlier. Looking even more closely, I could tell that an agent at the origin airport in California had made this change. Not only made the change, but did not charge him to change to the better itinerary. All flights were operating and on time, if not a few minutes early, so the airport had no valid reason to change the reservation for free. He was now calling from his only connection city, saying that an agent had done this without him knowing, without permission, and didn't even ask if he was okay. I'm thinking, they were being very generous. They cut out an entire connection and you'll get to Seattle 2 hours earlier. That sounds like a good deal. He's demanding a refund or like double his ticket value in vouchers, all while alternating between screaming, cursing, whining, and fake crying. He says that he was going to meet someone to give them something in Phoenix, and we took out that connection. This was clear BS, as his connection in Phoenix was 30 minutes. That's only enough time to change gates in Phoenix. There's no way to deplane, exit the secured area, meet up with someone, go back through security, and make it to the next flight before doors close 10 minutes before departure time. So I knew he was lying. I know that the airport does not change itinerary unless a flight is cancelled or delayed. Their duties deal more with checking you in, getting luggage, seeing documents for international flights, etc. I told him that he could write to our customer relations department because they would be able to do more research into his reservation to determine if it qualified for compensation. He then asked for a supervisor, so I called the supervisor and I warned her that he's acting more and more belligerent. He's screaming louder, he's cursing, he's shouting at people in the airport, etc, etc. I could also hear him kicking his suitcase or hitting it against the wall. Then I transferred the call to her. About 40 minutes later, he calls back and instantly asks for a supervisor, saying we're trying to screw him over and it ain't right. I call the supervisor desk, and this time, it's a man that I know does not take any crap from anybody. He does not give out compensation usually, and will not be disrespected. Once I've transferred the passenger, I take a break, just to read if the previous supervisor had written any notes, and that's when I noticed at this point that several airport agents have documented this record too. I'll try to be as close to the actual documentation as possible. The check-in counter agent said, passenger came in to check in for flight only 47 minutes before departure. He was carrying a bag that was too big to be a carry-on, and I told him he would have to check it in for money. He became irate and yelled that he wasn't going to pay that his bag was coming on the plane with him, that it would fit, and he'd make it fit. He made a really big scene, cursing, yelling, and screaming that we're trying to rob him, before running to the security line, still holding the bag. The gate, agent writes, passenger arrived at the gate out of breath, and already in an aggressive mood. He had a large bag with him, and I told him it was too big to be a carry-on bag, and that it should have been checked in. He begins yelling, saying that whoever was at check-in said it would be fine to carry on, and there was no problem. He began yelling that he thought I just had something against him because he's never had an issue with that bag. He accused me of trying to collect the fee just to pocket it myself. My supervisor came over to try to help explain and calm him down, and this was taking a very long time, so in the name of customer service, we checked the bag. Then, the guy began saying that his flights were stupid, and that since we were so rude about his bag, we should change it so he didn't have two connections. He started getting loud again, and I needed to start boarding the flight, so I just changed it for him to get him out of my face. But customer was happy, so good customer service. Supervisor 1 writes, I took call as supervisor on duty. Passenger was irate when I came on the line, saying that we were ruining his whole damn day and that he should have stayed home. He then began demanding a refund and vouchers no less than $500. I continued to ask him questions about his itinerary, and he admitted that he had yelled at the gate agent and threatened to hit her, so she changed his flight. He said it shouldn't matter why it was changed, just that we did it, so we owed him. I explained that you cannot get a refund if you've flown on all the flights on the ticket. And because he admits to threatening and harassing the gate agent to change his flight, he was not getting any compensation and should be glad that we haven't cancelled his flight. He then became belligerent again, saying that he would not get off the phone until he gets some money from us. He begins calling me names like bitch and whore, and when I refused to give him compensation, he said he wouldn't hang up until we gave him money. And if I don't, he's gonna hit an airline agent at the airport. I can hear him telling agents to give him vouchers or he will punch them in the face. I tell him that he cannot continue to threaten our agents or we will cancel his flights for tonight and call the police. At this point, he asked if I was close by, because he would come find me and punch me too. I began to hear airport security start yelling orders at him, like stop, drop your bags, etc., and then the call dropped. Supervisor 2 writes, spoke with a passenger who's still demanding compensation. I told him that he owes us at this point, and he has two choices. He can either control himself and act like a quiet, civilized adult, and take his flight and be done with it, or I'll cancel his flight, make sure that any small amount of value cannot be used in the future, and he can get himself home from his connecting city. He calmed down quickly and promised to behave. So that was it for the notes on the record. The next morning, I was curious, so I checked the reservation again, and the check-in counter agent noted that he had not been entitled to anything. He should have paid for his luggage and to change his reservation. My friends, I do not like people like this, who are so cheap and entitled and think that raising their voice and threatening people is gonna get them their way. Eventually, there's always someone who will not tolerate this tantrum-like behavior and will knock those people off their high horse. So the last story we have for today, OP's neighbor gets a nice surprise for taking OP's dirt. I did construction a few years ago and worked with the coolest manager ever, named Thomas. Thomas had this next door neighbor, Alan, who he can't stand. Alan would steal stuff out of Thomas's yard, like gardening tools, lumber, and most importantly, dirt. Both Thomas and Alan had been growing vegetables in their backyard for years, and apparently Alan's been stealing dirt from him for years, and thinks he can come and go grabbing tools and never returning them. Thomas, being a very non-confrontational guy, lets it slide. At one of the job sites we're at, they come and drop off a ton of soil. You could climb these things. So Thomas figures they won't miss a few bucketfuls of dirt, so we proceed to help him load up some buckets into the back of his truck. We get 8 buckets in, and he says to me, hold on, I need one more for Alan. I'm thinking, that's really nice of him thinking about his neighbor. But nope, he's gonna leave the bucket out for him so his entitled thieving neighbor can steal that instead of taking the dirt from his garden. And that's when he tells me about Alan and his thieving ways. So me, joking around, say, you should take a tub of that plant killer you have and pour it over the fence, screwing him in his garden. So unbeknownst to me, the wheels of justice start turning in Thomas's head. He says nothing to me, and we finish up the day and go home. About a week later, I show up to Thomas's house for work. He's grinning to himself the whole morning. Eventually, curiosity gets to me, and I have to know what's up, so I ask him. He breaks down his little revenge step by step. So he gets home and unloads his buckets of dirt in his driveway where Alan can see them. he proceeds to dump them all one by one where he needs them, but he forgets one. Now, this bucket was a special bucket. It was laced with plant killer. He emptied the entire bottle into the bucket and mixed it in. Now, the best part of this is that Thomas did not offer Alan the laced bucket, and he just left it out. If Alan would have asked for the dirt, he would have given him the good stuff, but instead, he opted to be sneaky. So under the cover of darkness, Thomas sees Alan run over and grab the bucket and takes almost all of it and then puts it back. After a week, his tomatoes withered and died. So he goes and buys new plants. Those don't last 2 days before they die. So he goes back to the nursery that he bought the plants from and he gets more plants. And a few days later, they died. Every morning we check on Alan and his radioactive dirt, and we laugh quietly to ourselves about what we call Operation Scorched Earth. My friends, this is justice at its best. The neighbor was a horrible person for waltzing into Thomas's yard and treating it like a free-for-all. It was a well-deserved lesson that keeps on going because anything he plants in his garden eventually dies. Operation Scorched Earth for the win. So scrolling through the comments, OP leaves another comment about his neighbor that says, "This dude stole everything that wasn't nailed to the ground." I didn't go into full detail for the sake of time, but I'll give you an idea of what we were dealing with. This guy stole decorative rocks from a house that was under construction 2 blocks away from him. He stole rocks. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of r/EntitledPeople. Guys, I hope you enjoyed your time with me today, and thanks for sticking around for the stories. If you missed the last episode of r/EntitledPeople, a Karen tells the ER nurse that she's more important than OP's 3-year-old daughter. Oh my goodness. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you. I really mean it. I do. Stay safe out there.